Rare earth elements are the hidden force behind our modern technology. These elements, often overlooked, are the backbone of countless devices and systems we rely on daily. They're not truly rare, but extracting and refining them is complex and expensive. The process involves intricate techniques and significant investment, making it a challenging endeavor. These 17 metals are in everything from smartphones and headphones to the very circuits that power our modern lives. To wind turbines and electric vehicles, they are essential for the green technologies that are shaping our future. A dash of neodymium turns iron into powerful magnets, crucial for EV motors and hard drives. These magnets are the unsung heroes of our digital age. Rare earths make our devices smaller, faster, and more efficient, enabling the sleek designs and high performance we've come to expect, and are vital for medical imaging and pollution control. They play a crucial role in healthcare and environmental protection, but their importance goes beyond gadgets. They're essential for national defense. From advanced weaponry to sophisticated surveillance systems, rare earths are indispensable. The US military relies on rare earths for advanced weapons, radar, sonar, and night vision systems. These elements are critical for maintaining a technological edge. Any disruption in supply threatens not just consumer tech, but also national security. The stakes are incredibly high. For years, the world ignored where these materials came from, lulled by stable supply and low prices. This complacency masked a growing risk. This complacency created a hidden vulnerability. The foundation of our technological world was more fragile than we realized. The global economy became dependent on a single source for these critical elements. China emerged as the dominant supplier, controlling the majority of the market. That dependence set the stage for a major power struggle. Geopolitical tensions began to rise as nations realized the strategic importance of rare earths. The world was about to discover just how fragile its technological foundation really was. The invisible ingredients of modern life were now at the center of a global crisis. China didn't stumble into rare earth dominance. It planned for it. Decades ago, Chinese leaders identified rare earths as a strategic resource, investing heavily in mining, refining, and research while other nations looked away. This foresight allowed China to quietly build a near monopoly, positioning itself at the heart of a market that powers everything from smartphones to fighter jets. Today, China controls over 70% of mining and up to 92% of processing, a stage most countries abandon due to cost and pollution. The environmental toll is high, but China's willingness to bear it has paid off, leaving competitors dependent and vulnerable. China produces more than 90% of the world's high-performance rare earth magnets. These magnets are essential for electric vehicles, wind turbines, and advanced military systems, technologies that define the modern era. The US, once a leader, now imports up to 80% of its rare earths from China, a critical weakness. American industries, from tech giants to automakers, rely on these imports to keep their production lines moving. This $12 billion market is a strategic bottleneck, giving China leverage over trillions in downstream industries. The ripple effects touch everything from consumer electronics to national defense. China has flexed this power before, cutting off exports to Japan in 2010 and sending prices soaring. That move sent shockwaves through global supply chains, exposing just how much the world depends on Chinese rare earths. The US and its allies, having outsourced production and expertise, now face a monumental task to rebuild their own supply chains. Years of neglect have left a skills gap and a lack of infrastructure that won't be easy to overcome. Rebuilding will take years and massive investment. It's not just about opening new mines, but also developing processing capacity and training a new generation of experts. Meanwhile, America's economy and military remain exposed to decisions made in Beijing. Every delay in diversifying supply chains increases the risk to national security and economic stability. The world's technological future is, for now, in China's hands. As global demand for rare earths grows, so does China's influence over the industries that shape our lives. The vulnerability became undeniable in 2025, when a sudden supply shock sent governments and corporations scrambling for alternatives, finally forcing the world to confront the consequences of China's rare earth dominance. In April 2025, China imposed strict export controls on rare earths, requiring a government license for every shipment. This was widely seen as retaliation for U.S. semiconductor sanctions. By October, China targeted 12 key rare earths, including those vital for EVs, wind turbines, and advanced weapons. The message was clear: restrict our tech, and we'll restrict your access to the materials you need. The new rules created chaos. Companies faced delays, uncertainty, and bureaucratic nightmares. The controls turned supply chain vulnerability from theory into crisis. China had weaponized its dominance, and the world felt the shock. China's export controls sent rare earth prices soaring by 25% in a week. U.S. manufacturers faced skyrocketing costs and halted EV production lines due to magnet shortages. The stock market lost $2 trillion as fears of a trade war grew. The Pentagon confronted a critical supply gap for advanced weaponry. Rare earths are essential for missiles, stealth jets, and sonar. Imports from China dropped 26%, not from lack of demand, but from a choked supply. The crisis exposed just how fragile and interconnected global manufacturing had become. For American businesses and defense, the risk of overdependence became a harsh reality. China's economic weapon was real and devastating. The U.S. was forced to urgently seek alternatives and rethink its entire supply chain. The wake-up call was impossible to ignore. The world had to act, fast. With economies reeling, U.S. and Chinese leaders met at the 2025 APEC summit in Busan. After tense negotiations, they agreed to a one-year truce. China would suspend its harshest export controls, and the U.S. would reduce some tariffs. The deal brought immediate relief. Factories restarted. Markets calmed. But the truce was only temporary. The underlying rivalry remained. The agreement didn't address the root problem: strategic mistrust and dependency. The one-year pause was a bandage, not a cure. The threat of renewed restrictions loomed. The world had a brief window to prepare. The clock was ticking for the U.S. and its allies. The truce stopped the bleeding, but the wound was far from healed. The race to secure rare earths had begun. The Busan Truce eased the crisis, but China's licensing regime remained. The April law requiring export licenses stayed in place. Only the harshest October controls were suspended. China introduced a new system: annual general licenses, making planning easier but keeping control firmly in Beijing's hands. Licenses would be easier for consumer tech, but much harder for defense-related companies. China could quietly block or delay shipments to strategic rivals, maintaining leverage. The new system was more precise, but just as powerful. Headlines celebrated the truce, but the fundamental dependency remained. China had traded a sledgehammer for a scalpel. The maze of export controls was redesigned, not removed. The world's supply chain was still at China's mercy. The 22 would one den imbri ta-25, sukain kordir dolom. The 25 crisis jolted the US and its allies into action. The truce was a brief window to break free from Chinese dependence. Washington fast-tracked domestic mining and processing, with MP Materials in California at the center. The goal: a mine-to-magnet supply chain on American soil. The U.S. also partnered with allies like Australia, funding Linus to build a Texas processing plant. The strategy: spread the supply chain across friendly nations to reduce risk. But rebuilding an abandoned industry is slow and costly. Environmental and technical hurdles remain. The one-year truce is a race against time. The world must act before the next crisis hits. The Busan Truce brought a much-needed calm to the region, but beneath the surface, everyone knows it's only a temporary pause in a much larger struggle. Tensions remain high, and the world is watching closely, aware that the situation could change at any moment. The legal framework for Chinese export controls remains firmly in place, serving as a constant reminder of the leverage China holds over the global rare earths market. These regulations can be tightened or relaxed at Beijing's discretion, keeping international industries on edge. In response, the US and its allies are scrambling to build alternative supply chains, investing billions in new mining projects, refining facilities, and research. But progress is slow and fraught with technical and environmental challenges. The world is learning that creating a resilient supply chain is far more complex than simply finding new sources. For now, China still holds the power to disrupt the market at any moment, with a single policy shift or export restriction capable of sending shockwaves through global industries that depend on these critical materials. The future may see a split: one supply chain for China and its partners, another for the West and its allies. This division could reshape global trade, creating parallel systems that rarely intersect. Such a scenario would be less efficient and more expensive for all involved, driving up costs for manufacturers and consumers alike. The world could face higher prices for everything from smartphones to electric vehicles. The 2025 crisis was a stark warning. Control over raw materials is now a central front in global competition. Nations are rethinking their strategies, prioritizing security of supply over short-term profits. Rare earths, once obscure and overlooked, have moved from the shadows to the very heart of geopolitics. They are now recognized as strategic assets, shaping alliances and rivalries. The world has learned the hard way about the true cost of dependency. Supply disruptions have exposed vulnerabilities in even the most advanced economies. The struggle for control over these invisible elements is far from over. Innovation, diplomacy, and competition will all play a role in shaping what comes next. The next move could reshape the future of technology and global power. The race for rare earths is intensifying, and its outcome will define the next era of international relations.